Are you scared that people won't listen to your podcast? Are you scared that you're going to put out all this information and people are just going to scroll past your podcast? Are you feeling like no one is ever going to discover you while you're doing your podcast? Well, in today's video, I'm going to tell you exactly how you can get your audience to start craving your podcast content. And it doesn't take any brain power at all. And I'm going to tell you exactly why these people are going to tell you how to talk to them. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into it. All right. So the problem that you guys are having is that you're scared that people actually won't listen to your podcast. All right. You're scared that people are going to just look over your podcast and you're going to be putting all this effort and energy into it, and then nothing's just going to come out of it. Right. But there's a secret to actually getting your audience to crave your podcast content. And the answer to the actual secret is something that you may not even think of. And it's actually easier than what you think to create a podcast that is craveable, bingeable, and one that people want to come back and listen to over and over and over and over again. All right. So what happens if people don't listen to your podcast is that you won't have an audience, and your podcast will be forgotten, and no one will listen to any of your episodes, no matter how many times you put out episodes, no matter how consistent you are, no matter how many times that you show up and you give everything that you have. If you don't have a podcast that's craveable, bingeable, it will not reach the intended audience that it's trying to reach. All right. And the reason why it's not going to reach that intended audience is because you're not saying the things that they want to hear. Right. And in order to say the things that you want to hear, you have to figure out, you have to get into the mind of your audience. And most people are like, well, how do I get in my mind of my audience? It's easy. They will tell you. They literally will tell you exactly what they need to tell you. Right. So it's very, 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 very easy to do this. It's very, very easy to figure out how these people are going to tell you. Because I know you guys are sitting here thinking like, okay, Derek, how are these people going to just tell me? Like, is somebody just going to call my phone, or somebody going to send me an email? No, it's not like that. And I'm going to give you an example of how this works. So as you guys know, I do work with Eric Thomas on his media team for his forward events when he comes to Atlanta. And before that, I would listen to him on YouTube all the time. I'm talking about every single morning I would listen to him. And if you don't know who Dr. Eric Thomas is, Eric Thomas is a motivational speaker, also a pastor. He always says he's the number one motivational speaker in the world, right? So he's like one of the best motivational speakers in the world. And he's pretty famous and known. So if you don't have a chance, look him up. If you get a chance, look him up. All right. So I was listening to his YouTube videos. I say listening to YouTube videos. I know that's a crazy way to say, are you listening to? I'm listening because I would play it when I was driving to work or in my vehicle going to do some pressure washing work with my pressure washing company. And so I would hook it up, to my radio, and then I'll just listen. Right. So I was on his YouTube listening, and one thing that he said that he was saying in one of his videos was that he was talking to the crowd, and he was like, people tell me that, and they come up to me all the time, and they're like, man, it's like every time you speak, it's like you're standing in my living room and you've been listening to my conversations, and you say exactly what I need to hear and answer exactly the questions that I had. And Eric Thomas was like, praise God, I pay attention to the comments. He said, I just looked at my comments and you guys put it down there. He's like, I'm just being transparent. I'm not doing anything special. I'm just looking at the comments. And then I'm just making content off the comments. And then that's when I realized, like, man, that's the cheat code. That's the secret sauce. That's the cheat code to getting an audience to crave your your content. And so I started doing this because my social media sucks. So I tried this with my social media first because I was like, my social media sucks, until I heard Eric Thomas say that he just looked at his comments and made content off of that. So I started looking at my social media, and it was a little bit more than just looking at the comments. Of course, we had to go through the whole hook story offer thing, right? Which we don't got time to get into today, but I'll make a video on that. Like if you want me to make a video on that, just let me know. Comment, send me an email, whatever. But I looked down in the comments section of my videos, comment section of some other people's videos, and I started seeing where people were having problems. And then I started putting hooks in my videos. And if you don't know what a hook is, that's just that first thing that grabs people's attention. It could be a picture. It could be something out of the ordinary that breaks the monotony of what your people scrolling looking for, right? So it could just be what you say, right? So in my hook, I started putting people's problems in my hook, or being more, I would say, being more curiosity based. So I would make my hooks, the things that I said in the beginning, a little bit more curiosity based. And what I mean by that, I just mean that I would tell them without telling them what their problem is. And so then they will be like, oh, I need to know what that problem is. So it creates curiosity in the mind of the people. So something, an example would be like, why you can't learn to ride a bike. It's like, ooh, okay, that's curiosity. Okay, that creates curiosity. Like, why can't I learn? Like, I am having trouble. Like, what is my problem? So I can figure out the problem. If I know the problem, I can fix it, right? So I started doing that, and then my social media started to really take off, and because of that, I used that in my podcast, and then of course we got way better response on the podcast. So all you really need to do is you need to find a solution. All right, to find a solution. You need to find out what your people want to hear. Okay, that is the solution. Find out what your people want to hear. Okay, and how do we find out what people want to hear? Well, I'm glad you asked that question because we're getting ready to go over that right now. Okay, all right. So, but before we go over that, listen, when you do this, guys, once you start finding out what your people want to hear and you start making content based off of what they want to hear, then, guys, you'll start getting people to actually listen to your podcast. They're going to listen through the entirety of it because they want to know that information. So that coupled with the perfect podcast, template, right, to go through your podcast and get the information out to people, right? Because there is a perfect template, all right? And if you want that, let me know in the comments or send me an email. Let me know, hey, I want that video or I want that podcast, right? Cool. So once you do this, people are going to want to hear all the answers. They're going to want to hear all the answers to the questions. So they're going to keep coming back and they're going to keep trying to figure out, okay, this person knows exactly what I need. This person knows exactly what I need. So I'm going to keep coming back and getting the answers. All right, getting the answers that I need. All right, so there's a framework. Okay, framework. All right, so step one, and I believe this is my SEA framework. All right, step one, we're going to search. All right, step one, we're going to search. We're going to go on Quora or YouTube or Google, and we're going to find questions that people are already asking. Okay, so we're going to search. We're going to search out these questions that these people are already asking. Boom, mind blown, right? Very, very easy. All we're going to do is going to go up there. We're going to find those questions, and you're going to find them in different various places, right? You might find them on Quora. You might find them on Google. You might even find them on Instagram or TikTok, right? Just go to these places where people are already delivering the content that you want to deliver, and then you look down in their comments. And you start to see people asking questions. Okay, how do you do this? Okay, you said I can do this, but what do I do to? Because every answer that's given, there's 10 more questions that come along with that. For every answer that's given, there's 10 more questions that come along with that. So you're going to continue to ask questions. People are going to continue to ask questions. So there's an abundance of questions, right? Right? Remember I said before, it's like you don't lack abundance. You lack the knowledge of the access that you have to abundance, right? So you need to figure out where the abundance is so you can access it, right? So now here's the abundance. This is where you find out what these people are asking. So it makes sense that we answer the questions that most people are asking, right? Makes sense. Okay. So then number two is compile, right? So we're going to write down all of the questions that these people have, and we're going to compile a list, all right, of all of these questions, right? Now, if you listen to one of my other episodes, and I believe it's episode number 5 or 6, I believe episode number 5, where I talk about how to multiply these questions. You need to go back and listen to episode number 5, where you'll learn how to multiply these questions and turn 10 questions into 30 pieces of content. Okay, so go back and listen to that, and then you'll figure that out. But we're going to write down all these questions that they have. We're going to compile a list of all of these questions that they have. Okay, and then we have a list. So now we have a base of stuff to to work from. All right. And like I said, we can multiply this list. If you go back to episode 5, you'll know how to multiply this list. And say you get 20 questions, you can turn 20 questions into 60 pieces of content. All right. And that's what episode 5 will do for you. All right. Then we're going to answer. That's the A. We're going to answer the questions on your podcast. Answer the questions on your podcast. So that's my SEA formula. So you're going to search, you're going to compile, and then you're going to answer the questions on your podcast. Now, you got to know what you're talking about now. So it's not just like, oh, I got the questions, I'm just going to answer it and just blindly answer it. Like, no, you have to actually answer it. But you guys are experts. You guys are leaders. You guys have the answers. You got to dig into your knowledge base, consult God on it, and answer these questions. And we don't really have time to dig into how you're going to answer them, but answer the questions. Okay. Answer the questions on your podcast. Listen, guys, I did this on my social media. My social media grew. I grew over a couple of platforms. We grew to over 100,000 followers, and over just a few months, implementing this strategy and a couple other strategies. But implementing this strategy, I would say had the most impact on that, because we were starting to put out information that resonated with the audience, and then they started coming, and then the content was good, right? The first thing that stopped them from scrolling was the fact that we knew what their problems were. We put it out there, and then they immediately stopped, right? Some of you are here because you saw something that resonated with you on my TikTok, right? Or on my Instagram or on my Facebook. You guys saw something that resonated, and you're like, ooh, stop and listen. And now you're here. Okay. So if you're asking yourself right now, does it work? The mere fact that you're here listening to me right now is proof that it works. So listen, guys, if you want me to show you how I did this process and give you my exact steps to be able to implement this into your own podcast, then what I want you to do is I want you to register for my free masterclass. Okay. How do you get to the free masterclass? Well, if you're listening to this, if you're on YouTube right now, go down into the comments section, and then I want you to go ahead and click the link down there. Okay. If you're watching this on Facebook, then definitely there's a link down below. If you are listening to this, then if you listen to this, then I want you to go down to the show notes, tap on that website in the show notes, and then you'll be able to go ahead and register. Okay. So the masterclass is up and running. So go ahead and go to the link, get into the free masterclass as to how to start and launch impactful, influential, and informative podcast. right from scratch. And you don't have to worry about having the equipment. You don't have to worry about having anything special. You don't have to worry about who's going to listen to you. You're not going to have to worry about, does your voice, you know, does people hate your voice? You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. All right. We're going to take care of all that stuff in that master class. All right. So with that being said, remember that everything that you do today affects your future. So remember, tomorrow, I'm Derek Harper, and I will see you